Hello everyone. Throughout this lesson, we will learn how to create and use functions in the Python language. First, let's clarify what functions are. Functions are like subprograms into which you can place code that is often repeated. Then, when you need to execute it, you simply call the function, and all the code inside it will be executed. Thus, functions allow you to reduce the overall code of the program. In fact, throughout this lesson, we have already worked with functions several times, but they were all built-in functions. These are functions like print, input, int, and many others. However, besides built-in functions, we can also create our own. First, I suggest creating a simple function that will display a message on the screen. To create a function, you first need to write the keyword def, and then specify the name for the function. Let's name it hello. Next, you should include parentheses, and inside these parentheses, you can specify parameters that the function will take, but at the moment, we won't pass anything and we'll do it a bit later. Also, at the end, you need to put a colon, and everything written after the colon is called the body of the function, which is all the code that will be executed when the function is called. Also, note that there should be an indentation in the function. The program automatically indents it. Now, inside the function, we should write some code. In our case, let's print a string. Now, to make the function work, it needs to be called. To do this, we just need to write the name of the function, hello, and add parentheses. Now, if we run this, we will see that our message is called. Now we see that if our program gets bigger, we would need to change the code in all places. But now, if we just call our function again, we will see 2 lines on the screen. In other words, functions significantly reduce repetitive code. Now let's consider how we can pass a value, or in other words, a parameter, to a function. To pass a parameter to a function, we need to specify in parentheses here initially that we will be accepting something. I want to accept only one parameter. And I want to name it word. You can also think of parameters as variables. Only these variables will be visible only inside the function. And now, for our function to produce the correct output, we need to pass a value when calling it. Let's write the string hi here. Now, instead of printing a string, we will pass the parameter that we just created. And if we run this, we will notice that our word is now displayed on the screen. Thus, you can pass various values to a function, and you can work with these values as you see fit. Now let's create something more practical. Let's create a function that will add 2 numbers. For this, again, I write the keyword def and give it a name like add. And I want to pass 2 values to this function. Their names can be anything, but I want to name them A and B. Next, all I want to do inside this function is to add these 2 numbers. Therefore, we write a standard print function, inside of which we write the addition of our numbers. Now, all we need to do is to call the function itself. And in parentheses, let me pass such numbers as 5 and 7. Also, let's call this function again, but only add 2 strings, the string h and I. And if we run this, we will see that the first time we get the number 12, the result of adding numbers. And the second time, string concatenation occurs. If I want to output our result from the function, I need to do the following. Instead of the print function where we have the expression itself, I will use the keyword return. And with this word, we can specify what exactly will be returned from the function. Here I write the same addition as before, only now with the keyword return. Now, we will assign variables to both output functions. Let's create a variable result1 and assign our value. Similarly, we will do the same with the second output. And if I run this, we will notice the output is exactly the same, but now the add function returns the result using the return statement instead of printing it to the screen. As a result, using the return statement, the value obtained from the function's execution is returned back to the calling program. This allows us to store the results of the function's work in variables result1 and result2, which can then be used for further calculations or output. This approach makes functions more flexible, as their results can be used in various parts of the program. Let's write a function together to find the minimum number in a list. To do this, we create a function named findMinimum, inside of which we will accept only one parameter, lst, which is the list from which we want to find the minimum element. Next, we write a line where we assume that the first element in our list is the minimum. After that, I suggest writing a simple for loop and creating a variable inside it that will iterate through the list of numbers. Then, we make a simple check. We say that if our variable is less than the minimum element, then we have found it. And then, using the return statement, we return this value. Now, all that's left for us to do is to call the function. But before that, let's create our list. And let's put some values into it. You can put as many values as you want, but I'll limit it to these. And now, we just need to write the function to display the result. To do this, we write the name of our function and pass our list into it. If we run this, we will see the result is the number 1. Indeed, besides standard functions, there are also anonymous functions. To create such a function, we must write the keyword lambda, and then we specify the parameters that will be passed into this function. Suppose I have parameters x and y. Then we put a colon, and after that, we specify what will happen inside the function. Let's assume that we will simply multiply these two numbers. Here you may notice that this function is underlined. This happens because any lambda function needs to be placed in a variable, which in turn will be an anonymous function. Let's create such a variable, which will be named func. Then, to execute this function, we need to refer to the variable name, specify parentheses, and pass specific parameters inside them. For example, 5 and 2. Also, don't forget that we need to print it out using the print method, then in this case, we will get the result we need. So, a lambda function executes a few lines of code, and its notation takes just one line, unlike a regular function. Well, our lesson is coming to an end. In this lesson, we learned how to create and use our own functions. In general, all functions are created using the keyword def, and if you need to create a very small function, you can use lambda expressions, which essentially serve the same purpose. That's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new lessons. Thank you all for watching. See you soon. Bye.